Oh, brethren, let's go down to the river to dump all of our toxic chemicals.
Let's go down to the river today to fucking die.
You're listening to America's most environmentalist podcast, The Pod People. I'm Matisse Van Rossum, and I'm going Gongdu style.
Yeah. I'm the bronze medalist of snacking, Ben Sheets.
You can't run. You can't formaldehyde. It's me, Cleveland Mosier. Going down to the river to gay.
Well, we welcome you back, dear listener, to our humble podcast. We welcome you to a Patreon pick episode. The film that we're talking about this evening was chosen by one of our honorary pod boys, Zach. Zach has chosen The Host for us to talk about, not to be confused with Host or The Host, but
Or Host.
Or The Host. No, we're talking about The Host.
Thanks for clearing that up.
This particular The Host that we're talking about is a 2006 Korean film directed by the boy Bong Joon-Ho, one of his earlier films. And, you know, this is a film about a creature, but more than that, it's about family.
Yeah.
It's
As
really-
all movies should be.
It's really a movie about family.
What is your guys' experience with Bong Joon-Ho movies? Have you guys seen much?
I've seen a good amount. This was my second or third time seeing this. Seen Memories of Murder a couple times.
Yeah,
Snowpiercer.
that's a great movie.
Yeah, Snowpiercer.
That one.
Parasite, obviously.
Not obviously for me. I still haven't seen Parasite.
Damn.
So you've just seen Snowpiercer.
I've just seen Snowpiercer, and now this.
And now this.
But
Yeah.
I ain't seen Parasite. I've been meaning to. I not for want to try and I just haven't gotten around to it. It's very high up my list.
It's good.
It's one of
Yeah.
many that are like at the very top of my list and have been for like a year plus. You know, actually, give it like 3 years now.
Bong Joon-ho's a good filmmaker.
He is. This was the first movie of his that I saw back in 2011, I want to say.
I think that
back
might...
when I was in high school.
I think that might be the case for me as well. I don't think I saw it until my freshman year of college, but I can't remember if I saw this or Snowpiercer first. But I think it was this. I mean, I remember growing up seeing like the DVD case of this movie in Blockbuster and always being curious about what it was, but never picking it up. Probably for the best. I feel like I probably wouldn't have appreciated it in my early teens.
I loved it when I first saw it. You know, I think it holds up just as well now.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking before the pod a little bit about how the effects, they look great for the time it was released. I don't know if you can say they've aged the best. Some better than others. I think for me, I think the magic is in the details.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you see the sea monster flopping around or falling over its own feet or things like that, it looks a lot better because, you know, the details were thought out.
Yeah, the CG is kind of smooth.
Yes.
But to your point, it's extremely well animated.
Yeah.
It does feel like it has weight and that it exists in the world, even though the textures and lighting are not like quite seamless.
Yeah, like what's most important to me is that you can tell a great deal of work and craftsmanship went into it when it was made.
Yeah.
And I think even though you can, quote, see the strings, right? Like, it's a little smooth, it's whatever, you can still appreciate it for, like, the work, you know, that
Totally.
went into it. Like, a lot of people, like, they just throw the word CG around because, like, oh, it's computer generated. So it's like, there's still a person, you know, like, behind that, articulating it, designing it, getting
Usually
the movement
many
right,
people.
studying it, tons. And for all that, like all of those aspects, like all of like those like hand touches, they're all there. Like the creature itself, like the design is really cool. And we don't watch like the original Godzilla movies now because it looks so real, right? Like I think like from this movie's almost like 20 years old now.
Almost,
yeah, for the same reasons. Like I didn't find myself watching it there, or like I didn't find the spell was broken for me because like the CG is a little smooth.
I mean, to me, a lot of the heavy lifting of the effects department is laid on the shoulders of the cinematographer.
Yes.
I think the cinematography in this movie is excellent, very much in line with all of Bong Joon-Ho's other movies. Like, he has a very distinct style, and shots are very much thought out. They even use slow-mo at times in a way that doesn't feel Zack Snyder-y or hokey. But instead
it's true.
adds impact.
It's true slow-mo. It's not just speed ramping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be talking out of my ass here, but I feel like this is the film that like put Bong Joon-Ho on like American audiences' radar. Because I know Memories of Murder came before this,
As did Mother,
which I have not seen. I've heard Mother is really good.
Either.
Memories of Murder is fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Maybe his best film, if we're being real.
I'm a sucker for Snowpiercer, personally. It is a corny, campy movie, but I love it.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about Snowpiercer. I actually think that this movie has aged better than Snowpiercer has, even though it came out like 6 years before. But Snowpiercer is a conversation for a different day. So this film starts with we get a little prologue of two scientists in a lab, and one of them is is a sort of stereotypical dumb asshole American, and he's telling his counterpart, like, hey, you see all those bottles of toxic chemicals? I want you to dump them down the drain because we don't need them anymore.
It's literally just formaldehyde, too.
Yeah.
Assumably, like, formaldehyde and other chemicals, right? Like, well, that was the impression I got, is that, like, he was worried about the formaldehyde, but there was, like, tons of other things there.
He said it was dirty formaldehyde. I don't know what that means.
Because it had dust on it.
Oh, the outside was dirty, yeah. But the other guy's like, well, wait, we can't just, like, dump it in the sink. Like, that empties into the river. Like, this is toxic chemicals. He's like, you fucking idiot. The river is wide, so you need to have a wide perspective. And now get dumping, mister. And so he does. He dumps, like, hundreds of bottles of old formaldehyde down the drain. And it flows out into the Han River. And, it creates a creature.
It does indeed. I love that opening scene. It's pretty much all done in English, which is an interesting way to start the film, because for the most part it is in Korean.
There are a few English-speaking characters that kind of pop up throughout, but not very much.
Well, that's kind of funny to start with that, because in a way the Americans are the true villains of this film.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. And like that's why pretty much all of the American characters are like cartoonishly like evil
or stupid
or both.
Yeah.
I would say the one kind of exception is like the one American like I guess he's a soldier, but he's like just like out and about, like in civilian clothes, who like helps the protagonist like try to save people from the creature when it first emerges from the river.
But he ends up being kind of the fulcrum for all of the hysteria of the Americans in the film.
Absolutely. We'll get to that.
Before we do, I do want to touch on like the American elements a little bit while we're on that subject.
Sure. Well, I'm sure we're going to keep going back to it.
Oh, sure. But I was thinking about this, right? Because I can't off the cuff. Sorry. Think what I've seen him in before, but the scientist at the very beginning, I did recognize from like American films and such.
He was Herschel in The Walking Dead
Oh
in
my
season
God,
2.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
that-
remember the actor's name,
Wow,
but that's
good-
where you recognize him
Great
from.
pull. Yeah. Just off the dome. Damn.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, because I've seen that too. I recognized him also.
Yeah, I've seen. I just can't
I
remember
don't-
shit.
I don't know
Like,
the
haven't
actor's
seen Walking
name.
Dead in a decade too. God, plus. But
Useless knowledge that lives in my head.
feel bad. I feel. But anywho. And like there are several other like American actors that they bring on, about 3 or 4. You know, this is the scientist towards the end, and like you said, like the military guy who kind of kicks off the whole thing. So in between all of them, they're all like American actors, and there's like their dialogue is for the most part naturalistic, like as American. For the most part, there's a little bit.
I think it's a little stilted, but I think that's natural with the territory.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Like,
mean, you look at something like Triple R, for example, and how stilted the dialogue is in that.
right. It's primarily like made by and for South Korean audiences.
Dialogue written by a non-native English speaker
speaker.
that's translated into English.
Right.
It sounds
But you can tell,
it sounds
like,
a little awkward to us, but
there was like at least a little bit of workshopping maybe with the American
Sure,
actors.
it's fine.
Sure, it's fine. It's plenty passable. Like
Sure.
yeah, you can catch like something's a little off, but like it's plenty passable. But point is, compared to Shin Godzilla,
oh yeah,
right? Like it's
where they just
several
had
steps.
a quote unquote American
American?
character just pronouncing her lines phonetically. 'cause she
Yeah.
didn't speak English.
Exactly. Like that is several more steps,
Yeah.
like technically in the right direction, and like showing a care for that sort of thing. I was kind of curious because like this movie's known well enough, and like at least the crew like around the film went on to do Parasite and other things. They're known like much more notably in American audiences.
Yeah.
Like seeing like okay, what
Well, I mean, Snowpiercer is
right?
entirely
Yeah.
English language
and
film.
so I wanted to double check and see like if the distribution or production companies were in any way American. Now, one thing I also noticed is during the opening credits that the
effects studio
is based out of California.
is American.
Yeah.
I think it was called the Orphanage Effects out of San Francisco.
Yeah, no.
I noticed that in the opening and closing credits.
So like I find that like really fascinating personally, like when there's like carryover, because like I work with a lot of like developers like out of the country and other stuff like that, and I always like think that sort of collaboration is super fucking cool. So it's always fun to sort of see that. But I noticed like it looks like both distribution and production were Korean. So it must have been like I'm just always curious, like the politics behind that and all that stuff. But,
I mean, South Korea and the U.S. are, allies and have lots of trade and,
of course.
and commerce. So it makes sense. But, yeah, and I mean, obviously, Bong Joon-Ho uses those American connections to go on to do other,
Exactly.
stuff, that gets wider distribution in the U.S. And, again, Snowpiercer being an English language film with mostly American actors.
But again, this was sort of his breakthrough
Yeah.
to
Larger
America.
international audiences, yeah.
well, it certainly grossed pretty well. The budget for this movie was $11 million, and it grossed $89 million.
Impressive for 11 mil. I mean, I know it was 11 mil in 2006. They're accounting for some inflation, but pretty small budget.
Well,
Pretty small budget.
This movie is really notable for being like a creature feature that kind of reinvigorated the subgenre.
Yeah.
Because like there hadn't been many, in a post Godzilla 99 2000 era. This was one of the first big ones.
Yeah, this is
to
6
kind of
years
break
after.
through.
Would y'all consider this a kaiju film?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I would. It's not about it, but the setting.
It's not what I would consider like a traditional kaiju film, but I think you're right.
It counts for it.
I mean, I think a lot of people do consider it a kaiju film. I mean, compared to something like Godzilla, the monster's pretty small, but still does do plenty of wreaking havoc.
And I think it's one of the best ones out there because it's very inventive in how it represents the monster. It's not a giant monster wreaking havoc on a city. It's, going about taking snacks for later, and it doesn't even kill people right away.
It's an animal being an animal.
Yeah.
is what it is. Yeah.
And that's cool because that nature is like reflected in the dad very early on too. Like, our introduction to our protagonist is he's just sort of like dopey and falling asleep at the snack stand by the river at the park.
He is the definition of a buffoon.
We'll
get into that.
Not even near, but like full on like a cartoonish character. But like some people come up and they order squid, so he goes over to like kind of like fire him up on the grill, and he plucks off one of the tentacles from it and like starts chewing on it, and he just puts it in his pocket for later.
It's a very flat squid. Have y'all ever had squid before? I've never had squid.
Yeah,
like that.
This is kind of a weird political thing.
That.
I personally don't really like eating squid or octopus out of on principle, just because they're like really intelligent creatures and they suffer a lot. But
I don't eat seafood, but I have worked at restaurants that serve squid, and I have had to prep and cook squid. They are very flat. There's not much in there. They don't look like it in the water because they're full of water.
Right.
I mean, their guts are pulled out and stuff too. Anyway, so we definitely need to talk about our protagonist. Our protagonist named Gang-do. He is played by Song Kang-ho, who is anybody who's seen a lot of Bong Joon-ho's movies will recognize him. Frequent collaborator. He's the detective in Memories of Murder. He's the dad in Parasite. He is in Snowpiercer. He's a small role in Snowpiercer. He's in a lot of Bong Joon-ho's stuff. And he is a buffoon. He's a dipshit. He is a failure. He is a bumbling idiot. He is a cartoon character.
One of the introductions to the character is he's saving up to buy his daughter a new cell phone, and he's doing it by stealing the change from the little snack stand they have and keeping it in an empty ramen bowl. Yeah. And it's all like dimes and quarters and pennies.
Yeah, he's showing it to her. He's like so proud of it. He's like, "Look, I'm saving up to buy you a new phone. Isn't it a lot?" She's like, "This is mostly dimes. This is not. This is like no money at all." But yeah, he lives and works in his father's little snack stand in the park on the banks of the river. He has a 13-year-old daughter and a brother and a sister. Very close but dysfunctional kind of family. You know how it goes. One day the creature comes out of the river, wreaks a bunch of havoc, grabs his daughter, and disappears back into the river.
What I find very interesting about that scene is the onlookers on, the shore see the monster overhanging on the bridge. And our main character, he throws a beer in, and the monster grabs it, right? And then everyone else starts throwing shit into the river.
Yeah, I want to feed the weird creature too.
It fits so well thematically with this sort of anti-pollution message that's kind of an undercurrent throughout the whole film.
Literally an undercurrent.
Yeah. That, like, the way that they lure the monster in to wreak havoc on ground is by throwing a bunch of shit in the river.
Yeah. Well, I mean, rule number 1, you're not supposed to feed wild animals because then they'll get used to it and they'll come and fuck with your shit. And that's what it does. It comes out, and that's the first time we really get a good look at it. And it goes on a little rampage through the park and kills a bunch of people and snatches up a few, including Gang-do's daughter, and
I love the
takes him back.
Where it first appears on ground, and they all throw stuff in the river, and then they turn and look and see it from afar, running
just
on the bank.
Yeah, just running down the dock.
They're on this kind of graded slope, and there's a really awesome shot of the monster kind of tripping down the slope, hitting people on the way down, kind of just stumbling about.
I love how clumsy the monster is. There's the part later where like two of the sanitation guys are out like spraying shit, and they look up and the monster's like on the bridge above them, and it just like sort of flops down onto the truck.
It's fun too because like when it's in its natural element, it's sleek and graceful, especially for how large and cumbersome it is. Because it's like the size of like a small truck, and yet like it can whip around with its tail, and it can like flip along the underside of the bridge. And the first time we see it uncurl from the bridge and drop into the water, like it hardly makes a splash. Like it's almost like a like a leopard, moving around in its environment until it comes up on land, and then it starts flopping around and
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like
stumbling.
seals are very graceful in the water, but then they come
it's
up
a lot
onto
like
land
that.
and they're just kind of flopping around.
Yeah, and I think that
because they're not built for land locomotion.
I really like the intent behind that because that all comes through pretty
Yeah.
clearly too. Like it's in its environment, it's scary, but when it comes out, there is like it's bumbling, but the chaos is still terrifying. Like it's.
I also get kind of the impression that it doesn't fully like understand its own body yet.
Yeah.
Because we know that it is something that has mutated like extremely rapidly over the course of just like a few days or something from the chemicals that are dumped into the water, and that whatever it was, it started out very small. Because like after
It's still learning what it's supposed to be in its own body. It's a real coming of age story.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a clumsy teenager, much like Gangdu's daughter.
Yeah. Who I really like. I love how she's set up. She runs into the booth and she's got to turn on the TV and see her aunt.
Yeah.
On the TV, she's got to see her. They put
Who
it
is
on.
an archer?
She puts it on. It's the
She's
Olympics.
and she's a nationally ranked archer.
Yeah, and she's doing a competition, and they want to get the grandpa in there, but he's out attending to the squid, and so like there's a bit of dialogue.
No, it's her. It's her and the grandpa who are watching on TV while Gangdu is out.
Well, at
watching
first it's the dad, and then the grandpa comes in, and
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's right. Because he gives her
beer.
he gives her a beer.
Yeah, which I wanted to
That's
touch
right.
on because there's really fun payoff with that, where he, like just once again, just showing like how much of a bumbling dad he is, much like the creature he bumbles about on land. She says she's thirsty, and he just gives her a beer, and she's like, "I'm in middle school," and he's like, "Yeah, it's old enough, you're fine," and like clearly he doesn't, like he's a goober. And
Yeah.
And she like takes one.
He's
sip and is like,
he's
"Ew."
well-meaning but incompetent.
Yeah, and but the world just kind of flows around him. Like she takes a sip of it. She's like, "Ew, it's bitter," and she doesn't drink any more of it anyway. So it makes the moment kind of cute. And then the grandpa comes back in and he pulls him aside. He's like, "Hey, look, you took one of the tentacles from the squid. They only counted 9 when we, we gave the customer their meal. You can't do that." And sure enough, he's still got the squid tentacle in his pocket. He's just carrying that around.
Yeah, as a snack.
A little snack.
Yeah, like jerky.
A little jerky.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, essentially
Pocket
is.
jerky.
And I can't blame him. But anyway, so he tells him like, "Here, take this and give him these 2 beers on the house." So he takes it down to the picnickers, and that's where they first see the creature. And I like the pacing of all that. And of course, then the grandpa sits back in. So while they're seeing the creature, the grandpa and the young girl are watching the Olympics on there, and the aunt, she's just up. She got a bullseye a moment ago. They're all celebrating. They're really happy, and she's on her final shot, and she hesitates, and the timer runs out.
She chokes.
She chokes.
Yeah.
And I like that.
It's funny too because like the announcers on the TV are like, as always, her greatest weakness is that she hesitates too long before taking the shot, and that's something that we sort of like see repeated throughout the film.
What a great introduction to a character.
I love how like the whole family are all kind of losers in like different respects. Like Gangdu is obviously like the biggest loser. He's like the biggest buffoon, but even like the father, the grandpa, like he is, he doesn't have a wife. He's raised all these kids on his own. He's just got this like little snack stand that doesn't make much money. The sister, great archer, but chokes at the last minute. The other brother is a drunk. Like they're all like deficient in some way.
But he's a sort of like drunk salary man,
Yeah.
almost. You know, he tries to look professional in a way.
Yeah, after he does what he can to hide it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I also want to note that the Archer sister is forgive if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but it's Bae Doona who played one of the 8 Sense8 characters on that show. Which
she's one of the Sense8.
She's one of the Sense8. Hey, I'm still a fan of that show. I stand by it. But she's the one who like knows martial arts, so whenever they switch out people, because they could switch out between each other's,
Isn't that the Pornhub original show?
Yeah, and and it rules, and it's probably one of the few things the Wachowskis have made that I like. But anyway,
I think
That's
she's
gonna
really
be just some
in
hate mail.
sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
Is she? Okay,
Um,
I haven't seen that movie in a really, really long
She's
time.
been in a number of other things. But
She's
really
wait, is she
good.
in sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, or is she Lady Vengeance in the other one?
It's just her roles. She's known for roles as a political activist in Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
Okay,
Vengeance,
Mr. Vengeance. All right.
Sensei. Oh, I guess she's in Cloud Atlas and Jupiter Ascending as well.
So she's a Wachowski regular.
Yeah, Wachowski regular. I would only know her from Sense8. And again,
Did the
she's quite
Wachowskis
good.
do Jupiter Ascending?
Yes, they did.
Oofa doofa.
Oofa doofa.
I did not realize that.
They did Ninja Assassin too. There's a lot of stuff I don't like that they've done. But yeah, no, I do like. Anyway, she's great. I really like her performance in this film as well. She shows that Olympian determination a lot.
The grandpa is great too.
Oh,
I mean,
he's a treasure.
honestly, the whole cast is fantastic. I really
impressed
love all of
with
these
the
characters.
young girl.
Yeah, she's really
She
good
gives
too.
a great performance. You know, she's stuck in kind of the sewer for most of the film.
Yeah.
But she has kind of an arc. She has a survivor's instinct, and, you know, a young boy is dropped down there later in the movie that she, like, takes care of and protects.
She's
really
a
compelling stuff.
She's a better parent than her own dad.
Yeah.
Well, and you know that's kind of like a big like emotional through line of the film too. Is that like Gungdu is like he is a loser and an idiot, and he blames himself for her getting taken, and other people kind of do too.
Well, we should mention because for the beginning of the movie, it's presumed that she's dead.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, because the creature like grabs her and drags her into the river, so it's like, of course she's dead, right? Like,
yeah,
it's game over.
We have that excellent scene of the wake of all these different people.
Yeah,
and
a memorial service for everyone who died. Yeah,
and the whole family is just writhing on the ground in grief, and
it's kind of funny.
It's kind of over the top, but
it
works.
I mean, I think intentionally so. There's a lot of like funny parts in this. Like Bong Joon-Ho has always had like a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
Memories of Murder is pretty bleak, but like all of his other stuff is like he's got a good sense of humor.
Well, what makes the scene kind of funny, it almost because of how absurd it is after the family has fallen back and they're at the height of their grief, and again they're just like rolling on the floor, like clutching at themselves. Then photographers come right up, like a bunch of photographers come up, and they're just snapping photos of them. And at first they're all so bereft that they don't even notice until finally, like the drunk brother, like he kind of rolls around and is like, "Are you taking pictures? What the fuck are you doing?" And he gets up and he starts like punching at him, and, trying to get him to fuck off. And I feel that, like, and it's cool. It's very relatable, but it's still like quite funny.
But yeah,
like,
the media's just like, well, this is a spectacle, so we're gonna
move in on it.
Gonna
and
capture it.
It's so outrageous, but also still quite believable, and it's really human, and in a creature film, not the kind of thing I would usually expect, and I really appreciate it. Like, it's all of those moments that are like absurd and funny. Often even like at the character's expense. It's never to a point where it removes any sympathy from the characters. You always feel for them, and that's a difficult line to a tightrope. So
they're real, they're fallible, they're imperfect, but they're entirely sympathetic and likable too.
And I think that's the heart of the film that makes it work so well. Is it's a creature feature, but it's not about the creature. Like, the whole crux of the arc of this film is about going to rescue the daughter.
It's not a creature feature. It's a family feature.
Yes.
With a creature.
Exactly.
It's a family feature with a creature.
Yeah. Well, all right, we did it.
Yeah, that's it. Wrap it up. Great job, guys.
That's the
All right, well, we'll
podcast.
see you next week.
See you then.
One thing I do want to double back on real quick is a detail that I do think is important, is that at the end of the scene where the creature is like wreaking havoc in the park, Gangdu and his daughter are like running away from it, and they trip and fall. And we see Gangdu get up and he grabs what he thinks is his daughter's hand, and they start running again, and we do this like, this is all in slow motion. They do this nice pan back, and we see that he's dragging along a completely different girl. He grabbed the wrong girl's hand, and like her dad comes up and like looks at him like kind of weird and like pulls her away, and then he turns and looks back, and now his daughter is just starting to get up from where they fell right as the creature is coming up right behind her.
Both of the girls are
Really
wearing
well shot.
sort of
School uniforms, yeah.
And
So it's an honest mistake
Yeah.
in all of the chaos. It's
Because during that like pretty complex shot, like there's so many extras running around, panicking, and like there's like it's also coordinated with like the creature like into the shot as it pans back. It's quite technical. And
it's a perfectly honest mistake for him to make.
It is.
But considering how much of sort of like a bumbling idiot he is, he blames himself for it, and everyone also kind of, even though they don't really say it, they all do kind of feel the same. It's like, you dumb asshole, you grabbed the wrong girl's hand, and that's why your daughter got taken. Mm-hmm. So it's like, even though it's like it's totally honest mistake, like it's really not his fault. But it does add like a weight.
I do
weight
have to say
it.
that shot of her standing there with the monster coming up behind her is probably the most iconic shot of the movie.
Yeah.
It's the one that I think of the most when I think of this movie.
Yep, I would agree. And honestly, and they do this a number of times, but and this is maybe kind of weird to say, but I think the creature in this movie looks best when it is out of focus. It again, you know, especially for when it was made, like the effects have aged pretty well. But they're good enough to begin with that when the creature is not in sharp focus, it looks great.
Yeah.
It looks really good.
Is cool.
Yeah.
On it, and like there's enough like weird details. Like it's half of its face is sort of like a pustule.
It has like a
eyeball thing.
weird vagina-y mouth.
It's very spider-like. Like it kind of like opens up at 4 points, you know, and it's more like
You know what it
lateral than
kind of
horizontal.
reminded me of? It kind of reminded me of the Cloverfield monster.
Oh, I
A
see
little
it.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see that.
And, well, you know, really, the Cloverfield monster should remind you of it because Cloverfield's 2010.
No, Cloverfield was 2006. I think it came out the same year as this.
Is that right?
I think
Wow.
so. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I'm thinking 10 Cloverfield Lane. That's why I thought 2010.
Yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane
But that's like 20.
came out in like 2014.
13, 15?
Yeah,
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
mid 2010s.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So it wasn't 2010, 10 Cloverfield Lane. Cloverfield Lane came out some point in the 2010s. Then 10 Cloverfield Lane came out in around 2014. Okay, sorry. I just introduced so much confusion there.
to go back to the creature.
Moving
we've
on.
talked about the creature. We haven't talked a whole lot about its design. I think it's a very well designed monster, very unique looking.
The asymmetricality helps.
Yeah, and what I really like about it, and I think is a hard balance to strike, but I think is always really effective in monster movies, is when a monster can simultaneously look scary but also kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I
It
mean?
helps with the realism. It doesn't feel like it was perfectly designed.
Yeah, like this monster is obviously like horrible, like especially its nightmare mouth and weird like multifaceted eye, but also Like,
Still kind of a big dumb fish.
it's like a big dumb. He's got big dumb flipper feet and is like stumbling around and slipping and sliding
just
and like
straight up has
flopping on things.
Other fish
He's got-
sticking out
he's
of
got-
it.
Yeah, just exactly other fish like tails just like hanging out off of its back and stuff. Like it's the kind of monster. It's the kind of creature that if it was like a FromSoft boss, all of the messages like outside the fog gate would all just say dog. You know what I mean?
What I love about it is, like, a lot of kaiju films have a problem with scale. Like, one shot, it'll be, like, the size of, like, one story of a one-story building, and then in the next, it'll be, like, 12 stories tall. And in this, like, it has a consistent size that's big enough to feel like an intimidating threat to people on the ground, but not intimidating enough to have, like, a huge, overwhelming response. It is still kind of small in the scheme of things.
Yeah,
It's small enough that it can hide.
Small enough that it can hide,
Yeah.
and I think small enough that it makes for the digital artist creating it makes it scale easier to keep consistent. Because it like you can, it's like the size of like a small bus, right? And it's
small
like
truck.
you can conceptualize what something the size of a small bus might look like next to a group of people or next to a building. But when you get much larger in scale, it's harder, I think, to like conceptualize what 100-foot tall creature looks like next to a 2-story building as opposed to like a 5-story building, you know?
Absolutely. And in Godzilla films, I mean, we've seen a million Godzilla-esque kaiju films where we see the government bungle or successfully manage a response to the creature, right?
Yeah.
We've seen that a million times. But we haven't seen it, like, on this smaller scale as many times. And I really like that, like, this creature, like we said, it's nowhere near, like, the size of Godzilla. It's like a small bus. It can still hide a little bit, but it's still a big creature that terrorized a park. And even still, they totally bungle it.
See,
You know, they totally bungle it. I like that. I like that a lot.
In kind of the subplot of this movie is it's not about necessarily the South Korean response to the monster. It's about the U.S. response and the U.S. overreach.
Much like Shin Godzilla.
Yeah.
A lot of parallels.
But I do think also, like Shin Godzilla, that, like, there is commentary on just the problems with bureaucracy in general. Like, there are plenty of, like, Korean institutions throughout this movie that are also, like, dropping the fucking ball, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and so, like, the villain, like, the U.S. is also fucking up, but, like, really the villain is bureaucracy.
The police, the cop that he's talking to after he gets the call from his daughter is like, holy shit, she's still alive and she's being kept in the sewer somewhere. That cop.
The first response
No one
to
believes the
the
family,
monster is just to fucking fumigate the whole city, essentially.
Yeah, drive around spraying fucking DDT and shit, you know? Called him Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah, well, you know, there is a storied history of U.S. forces using chemical weapons in Asian countries, and this film does not shy away from commenting on that, you know?
Yeah.
With Agent Yellow, as they call it in the movie.
Yeah,
Very
that's
evocative of Agent Orange, obviously.
yeah. That's the U.S.'s response after the Korean government's attempt to fumigate and sanitize everything is deemed insufficient. It's like, oh well, we're just gonna come in here and fucking drop this big thing of Agent Yellow, which will kill everything in like a 12-mile radius or whatever. Typical U.S. response, right?
Yeah. Well, I like it because, like, the problem, like, unbeknownst to people, like, the problem starts by pouring chemicals in the river. And the solution is to pour more chemicals on it. Fuck that. And, we'll
We can solve, folks. We can solve global warming with more global warming.
Yeah,
actually,
just warm it more.
We need to burn more fossil fuels.
Yeah, there you go.
Because eventually it'll boomerang back around.
Exactly.
Speaking to just a very small example of sort of the bumbling nature of like the official like government responses in this. I think it's like so perfectly encapsulated by when they're in the at the memorial that we've already talked about, and they're sort of like pulling themselves together from their grief, and like some official walks in like the full hazmat suit, comes in with like a megaphone to make an announcement, and as he's walking in he just slips and eats shit. Just like in the background, like nobody's really paying attention to him, and he just like hops back up, is like looking around to make sure that nobody saw it.
No one's paying attention to him until he eats shit. And then everyone
it's
turns
like,
around.
and they turn around, it's
sees
like,
it.
what the fuck? And
Who the
he's
fuck
like,
is this guy? You know, and he's like, and it's so bungled too. Like he tries to sound like a person in authority, and his first question is like, "Did anyone come in direct contact with the creature? Please, let's get a show of hands." And some people are starting to raise their hands, including the dad. And of course, the grandpa's like, "Yo, don't raise your fucking hand. This guy's wearing a hazmat suit." And people are starting to raise their hands, and then of course, like the drunk brother's like, "Yo, what the fuck is going on? You need to tell us what's happening before we tell you who's been exposed or whatever. What'll happen to us." And then he's like, "I'll just let the news explain." And he goes to TV and he tries to find the news channel. It's like, well, the news isn't playing right now, so I guess I'll explain it. And I love that. It's so human. It's all just a series of mistakes. It's just this whole fucking confederacy of dunces. It's just a bunch of idiots. No one's handling this right. And I think that's mad relatable.
well, and they reveal that, gasp, not only is there just a big monster running around, but it's also infected with some kind of mysterious virus. The American who was there at the park, who was helping Gongdu, like he touched it and he died from some sort of infection. So now anybody who's come into contact with the creature is infected with this virus.
Well, they really sensationalize it
Of course.
on the news report in the bus, because they show like weird blisters and pustules on this dude's back, and everything, and ultimately it turns out like it's not a virus at all.
Well, yeah, that's jumping much farther ahead into the
spoilers.
movie. Yeah, a big reveal is that there never was a virus. Gongdu and his family, they escape from the hospital and they become wanted. There's posters up for them all over the place. It's like, oh, they've been in contact.
You
they're
could
infected.
say it's spoilers, but it's not really spoilers in my opinion, because I think throughout the movie it's pretty clear that no one is being infected by anything.
I mean,
Well, yeah,
you see all
the
marks on his back, and we don't know how long it will take.
you
for
see it in the news
the
report.
virus take place.
You don't see it anywhere else.
Well, there's the shot where Gongdu's in the hospital and he's like reaching back and scratches his back and he's got like some blisters on his back, and it's like, okay, he is infected with something, but yeah, like he never gets any sicker. Nobody gets sick. So like as the movie goes on, it's
realistically, sometimes it can take a while for those types of viruses to take effect, and I wasn't sure if that was the movie just showing realism or not.
he was like the other American who they say died of the virus, like he was there with Gongdu. Like they would have been exposed at the exact same time. And Gongdu is going on for days without being infected. Yeah. So
I read all of that as pretty clearly like all of the people we see in direct contact with the monster, they don't get really infected, and like especially with the young daughter.
That's true.
We don't see her getting infected in any sort of way.
Yeah.
So to me, that read as very clearly there's not any sort of virus, and it's just U.S. overreach, hysteria.
Yeah, I think by the midpoint or so for sure. But for the first, for about 20 minutes after that news report, I was still thinking
early on,
because his back is itching. we're not going to see it yet, but there's going to be that shot where his shirt gets pulled up and we see sores all over his back, and we never do.
Early on, he
does say that his back is itching.
It's uncertain,
yeah. Yeah, and like so they're all like trying to put him under quarantine, and they manage to escape.
I love the escape scene.
The escape scene is so funny.
Mm-hmm. But like while they're trying to escape, I still wasn't certain if there was a virus or not. And so I really like the conflict there, where it's like you want the family to get out because the daughter is they know that the daughter
they realize she's alive.
Yeah, right, because they get a phone call while they're in quarantine, and it's the daughter, and they've been grieving, and they've
given her up for dead,
and so hearing her voice on the phone, and of course it's the bumbling dad who picks up and hears that.
Well, yeah, she calls
I
her dad.
love after that how
no
the
one trusts
bumbling dad tries to
The family does.
explain to the medical professionals that she's still alive. And he's like, well, she's deceased, but she's not dead.
Yeah.
Like, she
Well, yeah, 'cause
died, but she's alive.
He's a fucking idiot. He doesn't know how to explain this in like a way that doesn't sound like he's losing his mind.
Yeah.
Like his family knows obviously because they know him and they trust him, but everyone else is like, this dude's a fucking dumb idiot. And at a certain point later, they're like, he must be like, this proves he has the virus because he's completely delusional. Like it's infected his brain. That scene later where they like drill into his skull to take like tissue samples from his brain is fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, more on that in a bit for sure. But there's a few things I want to touch on leading up to that point. Like I love, like you said, the escape is really good. It's chaotic.
I love the shot of the police officer running after the van, and it's like
up the spiral ramp in the parking garage.
He's struggling to catch up.
Yeah, it's so sad and pathetic. I mean, he's probably like getting more distance than I would have in that situation, but even still, like it's really comedic as he just kind of keeps running after them, and he's always like just halfway behind them up this spiral. Just shouting at them, "I'm going to get you," and he just keeps
getting
doing
farther
it.
and farther behind.
It's really good. So the family escapes. They owe this kind of mob or this kind of gang a lot of money that helped them escape. So now they're destitute, and they make their way back to the hut, and then they start searching the sewers because she's got to be somewhere in these sewers nearby. And they also
that's what she tells him on the phone. She's like, "I'm in a deep sewer somewhere."
Yeah. And, when we first hear that message over the phone, too, she's like, I can't escape, I can't get out, it's like a deep sewer. I'm like, is she in some kind of, horrible hive or something? Or is she, is the monster gotten bigger? Or is she in its stomach? You don't really know. And it filled my head with a lot of, fun, abstract, and scary imagery, which I like. And it turns out, no, she's just,
she's just in the sewer.
She's been dumped from one of the sewers, and I like that, too, but,
down a storm drain, she can't get out.
And so they start searching the sewers, and they kind of keep going back to their little stand home as a point of, respite. And there's this wonderful scene where they're all eating dinner together, and then
after a long, fruitless day of searching.
Yeah, and then the daughter just pokes up from the other side of the table, and she reaches out and she grabs a little snack as well. And the dad looks over at her, and he doesn't react in a crazy way, and he's exhausted, but he just kind of acknowledges her presence. And then the aunt does the same, and the rest. And then we cut back to her in the sewers again.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love what a cool way to show, without any dialogue or anything crazy, that she's just still with them in spirit.
Yeah.
And it the intent is so clear, but in the moment you're when she pops up, I think I even shouted a little bit. I was like, oh, she's there, she escapes, for just a moment you think and then you realize no, she's just with the family.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to her back down there, and I thought that was a really really well done moment. It's really really sweet.
I do love the sewer. It's sort of a storm drain where it's too tall for anyone to get out.
Yeah, a good 15, 20 feet deep. Yeah, with a grating over the top.
But not overly hidden,
Yeah.
or anything like that. And there's just a bunch of bodies in there. We get the fat dude in the 69 jersey, and a few other people that have been slurped up by the monster, so to speak.
Yeah, we've seen it a
out.
few times. It will like swallow people and then come back and sort of like vomit them back up.
It's using that storm drain as a little nest.
Yeah, a larder. He's got himself a snack stash.
Yeah. And so what it's essentially done is it picked up the daughter and it dropped her down there along with some other bodies in a very similar way to the dad just picking off, one of the tentacles from the squid and keeping in his pocket for later. Because it'll slurp up people and then it gorps them back out into the storm drain. And, the girl is just one who happened to live through the whole ordeal.
Slurping and gorping.
Yeah, dude, and it blorps them back up into the storm drain. And so she's able to get a cell phone off of somebody.
I love...
Scavenge that. But, it's cool because it keeps, it kind of keeps returning to that area. And so there's always, this tension that's coming and going with the girl down there.
Yeah.
And it really helps, elevate those sequences and heighten them.
I love that,
Time for her.
that she's every time it brings back a new body, she'll, search it for a cell phone to see if she can, get in contact with somebody.
Yeah, she's so smart down there and resourceful.
And later it brings back, the little homeless boy and the brother dies, but, brings him back, and so she starts caring for the little boy, but at one point it comes back and she's like, oh, it's back with another guy. Hopefully this is one who has a working cell phone. And then it just is up top of the storm drain and it opens its mouth. You think it's going to let another body out and it just vomits up a huge pile of bones.
Yeah, bones and sludge.
Bones and sludge.
It's so defeating. Because, up until that point,
oh, shit.
We've seen it, possibly, accidentally kill people, right? It's slurping them up and gorping them back down there, but, it doesn't... They're just still full-on people with their clothes on and everything. But they're dead because of, all they've been thrown around, concussed, mashed around. But, maybe... it's just collecting them for something or whatever. But, the moment it starts, vomiting up the bones, you're no, there's no hope.
No, I remember the first time I saw this movie, there's a good little while where I was thinking that it was going to be one of those movies where the creature turns out to not be bad, not be evil, but it's just misunderstood, you know? And then it's bringing people back to its nest out of loneliness, it's trying to taking them as children or something, and that she's gonna befriend the creature and have to convince the government to not kill it at the end or whatever. It's I like that there's because you don't really know its motivations, it's and then but then that moment it just yarfs up just a huge mound of human bones. And it's oh, okay, yeah, no, it's just a creature, it's just a monster.
That's basically the plot of Okja, Bong Joon-Ho's later Netflix
which
movie.
which I have not seen, but I'm familiar with the plot. Yeah.
And I really like that. I like that. You'll also notice too that when it does york up all the bones, that there are less people down there than there were earlier. So it had slurped some more of them up, and it had been digesting them, and then it came back.
Yeah.
Again. So
and also just eating people out and about too.
Right. So you really nailed it. It is using that little abattoir as a snack stand.
Yeah.
Which is cool because the family owns a snack stand.
Hey, it's exactly.
Themes. It's cool. And
the parallels between Gongdu and the creature, sort of big bumbling idiots.
We're not so different.
with their snack obsessions.
Yeah, it's a real shame that towards the end it didn't turn to him and say we're not so different.
Yeah.
I think it would have made the movie better.
The real family was the creatures we met along the way.
Ain't that just life?
Yeah, that is just life.
So they're searching, no luck. I really like how we're introduced to the other young boy. who's surviving down there because he and his brother they find the snack stand first before the family gets back, and the brother says, "Have you heard of Surrey?" And he says, "No, what's that?" He's like, "There's a bigger generation gap than I thought. Like it's where you steal food, but you don't steal money, you don't steal anything else. It's borrowing, and it's like us young urchins used to do it all the time." And so he tells so put the checks back, don't take any of the money from this family, just take the food that we need, and we're gonna go about our way. And they leave, and they're running, and they see the creature chases them down. They're going to open the door, and then we cut to the family opening the door of their shack instead. And there's a lot of really great turnaround shots where it cuts without you realizing we've cut, and we see another character round a corner or come up over a ledge or something. And that never gets old to me. It just these really cool kind of visual subversions where we don't even realize we're into another scene yet. So anyway, then
continuity editing, and match cuts.
I love match
There's
cuts.
a great match cut where we're in the hospital and you see all the beds with the humidifiers spraying their steam at the end of the bed, and then it cuts to the truck driving along the river spraying the DDT.
Yeah, it's great. That plays up with the beer can a few times. There's the one where at the very beginning, he gives his daughter a can of beer, and then later on, while the creature is storming the park, a beer can gets thrown around in the sprays as a person gets
Sort of
shorked.
a repetition of imagery.
And then when
He
throws
throws the beer can into the water, and the creature grabs it.
right, and then later on when the creature is blorping back up people in the abattoir, it drops a beer can down. Oh, which is cool because the girl is sort of using that to keep morale up with the young boy. She's like, "Hey, what do you want when we get out of here? My family owns a snack stand. We can get whatever we want." And the boy's like, "Oh, I want noodles. I want this." And she's like, we got it. And then she says, "You know what I want? I want a beer.
I want a cold beer."
And I love that because she obviously doesn't like the taste of it. She just wants to be like her dad.
Well,
And,
it reminds her of home.
Yeah, it's super wholesome. And then right after the creature blorps a beer down there.
Yeah.
For her. It falls asleep, and she goes over to pick it up, and we think is she going to drink the beer? What's she going to do? And she uses it, and she throws it at the creature to see if it's awake.
Man, I love that scene because a little before that we have her and the little boy taking off all of the people's clothes and coats and stuff and tying them together, and there's a police baton. They tie that to the end. They try to throw it up onto the grate above to make a rope so they can climb out, and it catches, but it's too high for them to reach.
It's 8 or 9 feet up, probably.
Yeah, it's pretty high up. They can't jump to it or anything. And then in that scene later where the creature is sleeping and she throws the beer at it to see if it's awake, she's like, okay, it's dead asleep. And she runs and jumps up on its back and leaps up and grabs the rope. I love the way this bit is edited, where she starts climbing, she just kind of stops and cuts between her and the boy, and he's looking at her, and it's in close up, and it's why are you not climbing? And then we cut to the wide shot, and the creature's tail is wrapped around her.
So good. And it's a really great sleight of hand too, emotionally too, right? Because right beforehand she says to the boy, "You stay in the hole, stay safe. I'm gonna get the National Guard, I'm gonna get the police, I'm gonna get everybody." She's so determined, she's so set. And so we think oh, is she gonna get out? Maybe she's gonna make it. And she gets partway up there and she stops, and we think it's because the boy's left the hole. Because the boy did hop out.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. So we're thinking as they're doing the tight shots, oh no, she stopped because maybe the boy has come out and she's like, oh, do I need to turn around and save the boy or whatever? And then boom, we get that wide shot, like you said. And the tail is wrapped around her, and it's great. It's there's so many balls in the air that you're not sure exactly what's happening until we pull back. And we
I
see
feel like this is another great example of how the monster isn't necessarily malicious, because it very gently puts her back on the ground.
It does, but then as soon as they turn to run back to the hole in the wall, it leaps up and attacks them.
Yeah,
it
what
almost
I got from that is it was just a reflex in its sleep.
Yeah, I could see that.
Its eyes
maybe.
are milky and closed, it is sleeping. She throws the beer can at it to test and see if it's awake.
Yeah, but then after it is awake because after it sets her down again. They try to run from it, and it gets up and chases after them. That to me felt like, again, just like a very sort of like animal behavior that, like, predators are instinctually driven to chase what runs, right? Like, if you put a string in front of a cat, it's just going to look at it until you start tugging it. As soon as the motion happens, that's when it pounces. And that's sort of what I felt like the creature was doing. Is like, it just sets her down, and then as soon as she moves, it goes after her.
It's just great. Oh, around the same time, something I wanted to touch on is we get this really sweet moment where the family is exhausted, and they've returned back to the shed, or the snack hut again. And they're just taking a moment to sleep. I love this moment because the grandpa, like, he goes for a cigarette. He has a cigarette while they're all, like, sitting together. The dad has fallen asleep again because he's always dozing off. We see him doing this, like, throughout the movie. We're introduced to him asleep on
Sleeping.
the counter.
Yeah.
And the aunt and uncle are dozing constantly. Like, they're kind of waking up and falling asleep again because they're all trying to get that rest, but also, like, they still want to go out and try and find her.
Yeah.
And the grandfather is speaking to them both, and he says, look, it's pretty fucked up that you reprimanded him for losing his kid. Like, can't you hear, like, his heartbeat? Like, everyone can hear the heartbeat of a parent who's lost their kid. Like, if you can do anything right now, please be nice to him. When he was a young boy and I found him, like, he was just practicing Soray, just, like, stealing food where he could or whatever. And it was during those times where, like, he was a young boy and he would steal food from these people, and then they would catch him at it and they would beat him up, and he never got the protein he needed when he needed it most as a child. And so now as an adult, he's always falling asleep.
That's why he's dumb and sleepy.
And it got his brain too, and he's always tired, and it's a really sweet moment. And it's cool because, like, we already learned, like, what that meant through, like, the orphans who were, like, coming through earlier and be like, oh, like, Soray is when you do this. And he says, so just fucking be nice to him. And it's sweet. But then you realize the aunt and uncle, they've dozed off.
They've totally fallen asleep.
But the son wakes up and he hears it. And he hears, like, his grandpa, like, being nice to him. And his dad. And being nice to him. And I think that's a great moment. It's really wonderful, but and it plays in a cool way later too when they get recaptured, and he is the dad. The American scientist comes in and he taps the guy's forehead. He taps the dad's forehead. He says, "That's where the virus is. We're gonna get a sample.
It's in there."
And they strap him down, and they have this, like, medical drill, and they're working to go into his head. And we think that's it, like that's it. It's game over. And we cut back to the girl. We cut back a little bit. He's sitting upright in a chair, and he looks like a vegetable.
He looks lobotomized.
Yeah. And they take the strap off his head, and you can see that there's a hole, that there's a wound there where they drilled into his skull.
They done trepanned him.
They trepanned him, and but from the front. And the nurse is going, and she sticks a needle into his arm, and he doesn't react at all. And she draws out a bunch of blood from this really almost comically large syringe. And that's when he turns and he grabs it from her, and he takes her hostage, and we're like, yeah, he's still good. Like, and I love that. It's like, he was already brain damaged. It's a little more, right?
I love that he is. It's maybe one of the more unrealistic things in the movie, but I love that he's able to escape by just holding everybody hostage with this big syringe full of his blood.
I love it because he holds it, like, up against her throat, like, I'll inject her with the virus, because he knows the virus isn't real at that point. You're the American scientist. I love too that, like, the American scientists, like, they're casually talking to each other because they think he doesn't understand, and then he turns and he goes,
No virus?
No virus? I love that. That's so fucking good.
Yeah.
But, like, he's holding the nurse, like, hostage, and he's walking towards them, and he, like, occasionally, like, spritzes his own blood at them with the syringe. It's so good.
I
like,
love
so
that
fun.
he opens, the main doors are open for his escape, and they're just fucking barbecuing
Just
right
rolling.
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fucking one of the American soldiers is just standing over like a barbecue grill, like flipping ribs and shit.
Well, you like it too because like when they're inside of the room, it looks like they're in like the bowels of the fucking Resident Evil facility. Like it's got the computers.
They're in a
it's got-
lab, yeah.
They're deep in a lab, and yeah, like they're at the bottom of the fucking umbrella facility or whatever. And then he goes down a small hall of decontamination. Like it's a straight shot, it's a shotgun, from like where he was sitting down to going out of that. And the doors burst open. He's just outside, and they're basically in a trailer.
They're in portables.
Yeah, they're in like a double wide.
They're in fucking portables.
And again, it's just like it's a wonderful like subversion where like you don't expect like you think it's gonna be like a long, arduous journey of him getting out, and he just pops outside, and they're already by the lakefront. They're already there, and it's great. And he still has to like make his escape and get into an ambulance and find the location. But it's really, I love that whole sequence. It's really good. And I was just fucking cheering like a touchdown when he gets up and he grabs a syringe, and it's like,
Yeah.
he just got a sample from the front. It didn't kill him. He's fine. He's gonna keep going. What's a little more brain damage? Like, it's really good. It's really good. Meanwhile, during that same time as the family is separated, the climactic event that separates them as they come across the creature again. Sorry to back up a little bit. And the grandfather is killed.
Yeah.
By the creature. It's a really sad moment.
And again, it's Gongdu's fault
It
because
is.
he gives him his gun
It's
that he
got one more
that he
shot
tells
in
him
it.
has one shot left in it, and the grandpa's like, "All right, one shot's all I need. I can take it." And as the creature's coming towards him, he pulls the trigger and it's empty, and we cut to Gongdu like counting on his fingers like a fucking like just absolute idiot that he is. And then the creature grabs the grandpa with his tail and like smashes him on the ground. And it's just like, yeah, his buffoonery got his daughter snatched, and now his buffoonery has gotten his father killed.
There was a sweet moment with the family gathered around him, and I think he says, like, or is it right before the creature gets him, and he turns and he says, like, just go, don't worry about it.
Yeah, he turns around and he like waves them to run.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's
very
what the creature
There's a
casual,
does.
really
and I really like
nice
that.
arc right before that when the sister, the archer,
Yeah.
is about to shoot.
She has her bow,
the
yeah.
monster, and the drunk brother stops her. And
Well, again, she hesitates too long
Yeah.
to release, and the brother grabs her shoulder, and
get her
it throws off her and it throws off her aim. Again, if
it's
she
another
just
build up of that arc.
Yeah.
if
where
she
we
just
get a satisfying ending.
if she just
ultimately.
released a second before, and she has yet another one of those moments a little later when they're all separated and they're kind of like individually looking for the little girl, and she ends up down in the sewer and she sees the creature and it starts running at her, and she pulls back to shoot, and again she's just too late, and the creature like smashes her and she falls down a storm drain.
A separate abattoir. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's down there for a while. But I love it too because because when we see the dad later on crawling back up a ledge, his hand comes over the side, and she pulls up, and we've cut back to her, and it's just another really good match cut where like we're just sent to another location, like seamlessly. The uncle. He goes off and he follows a lead where one of some like an old buddy of his and him are in a hall or in an elevator, and they're heading up to some sort of building. And he says
his
hey,
buddy works for a telecom company,
Right.
and he's contacted him because he says he can help him get the location of where the little girl called from.
And this is one of the biggest highlights of bureaucracy in the movie, where he says, like, dude, why didn't you come to me, like, as soon as you could? This is super easy for me to do.
Well-
when earlier in the movie, the police officer was like, this is way too
He's like, you
difficult
have
to
no.
take
They're
forever."
like, can't you trace the call? He's like, trace the call. Don't you have any idea how complicated that is? And then later his buddy's just like, yeah, we can get within 200 meters of where she made the call from. Like, why didn't you just come to me sooner?
But he's immediately trying to double cross.
Yes.
Well, he
yeah,
does. He does, but he was right about that, though, because like
Yeah,
they
sure.
go up because he says like like we can get it within 200 meters, like we got you. He takes him up to the computer,
And he sets the brother up. He's like, yeah, just enter the information here and it'll come up. He goes into another room, and there's a whole bunch of people in there, which is cool because like it looks like the office is closed. No one else is there. It's a like everyone's left for the day. And he walks into another room, and the room is full of people. Like
They're
all
they're
lying
after
in wait,
they're
ready
after
to
the
catch him.
reward.
Exactly.
All of this family who have escaped. There's a bounty out for them
Yes,
essentially
because they have the virus.
Yeah.
And so it's another great subversion. And so he did lead him there to capture him. But before they can make their move, the uncle gets a blip on his computer, and the location has been traced. And sure enough, they have within 200 meters. And there is on his map that he's already drawn out, like there is a storm, there is a drainage or a sewage entrance in that area. So he
Circled
knows
there,
exactly
yeah.
which one. And then of course the doors open, they'll come for him, and he makes his escape. Oh, and it's super badass too. Like he takes a like a clip.
A paper clip, yeah.
And he puts it on either side of a pronged power cord, and he plugs it in, and it causes the whole room to power out, and it shuts the whole place out.
It's cool.
Fucking awesome. It is so badass. So it knocks the power out, and he makes his escape. There's this great shot where they all run outside, and they're looking for him, and we see his hand slip, and he falls because he was like hanging onto a ledge. And there's this wonderful overhead shot where you can see like the road above or the bridge above, and the guy like down below as he's fallen, and one of the detectives like walks up into frame, and he hasn't looked over the edge yet, and the brother slowly rolls into the shadow before the guy can look over.
Yeah, great shot.
Fucking love that shot.
Yeah,
it's so good.
amazing.
And then at that point he rolls up to his position on the bridge, and he texts the location to the family. And so the sister gets down to the sewers to find her, and he passes out, from like the exhaustion and the fall. He wakes up later. There's a bum there, and I love this character.
Oh my god!
Not enough of the bum in this movie. He's probably my favorite character if I'm being real. And the bum's like, "Yo, I let you sleep on my bed, man. What's up?" And he's like, "Look, if you can help get me to this location, I'll pay you whatever." And he's like handing him his wallet. He's like, "Oh, can I have this backpack too? I'll pay for it."
He's like, I need some of these. The bum's got like all these little like liquor bottles next to him, and he's like, I need some of these. And he just sort of tosses him his wallet. He's like, I can pay for it. And and like while he's gathering all this stuff up, the bum just sort of casually picks up an empty bottle and just smashes it over his head. He's like, you think you can pay for anything, huh, asshole?
And it's great because you think that the bum is like just mad or is like evil and is trying to knock him out.
He's
so
gonna rob him or
rob
something, yeah.
But instead, like he then gets up. He's like, "All right, come on, let's."
He's
go
like,
hunt
"I'll
him
show
down."
you
He's
where
like,
you."
I'm bored. I don't have anything else going on.
He's like, "Oh, you
the
need to
bum
go."
just isn't a capitalist. He fucking rules.
You need to go to such and such bridge. All right, I'll take you to such and such bridge. Yeah, he just bashes him over the head to like teach him a little.
Yeah,
lesson.
fucking baka, you fucking idiot.
He's like, you fucking asshole. You think you can buy me? All right, let's go.
I love that shit. I love
so
it.
funny.
Yeah,
great.
like it's a really good like candid glass shot. They head out on their way. They get into an Uber, and they're both in the back of the Uber making Molotov cocktails. And like
I think it would just be a
driver is,
cab in those days. This is well before Uber.
Right. So like the cab driver is like, "Yo, what the fuck? You guys like going to the protest? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like with that stuff? Like I'm not trying to like fuck around that." Dude's like, "Dude, I'll pay."
He's like, "I'm paying
rate.
quadruple fare. Just
I don't
shut the
care,
fuck
yeah."
up."
And they're just like busily making Molotov cocktails in the back.
Well, yeah, they're going to the river where there is a protest, because people are protesting the imminent release of Agent Yellow on their city, like you do.
Like you do.
Yeah.
Because
Solidarity.
they're just coming in to drop this just chemical weapon, just like right into the river in the heart of the city. So
Again,
it's like
a major subplot of the film.
yeah, absolutely. We should get to that. We're going a little long here. But there's a lot to get into at the ending. The protagonist does eventually find the storm drain where the daughter is, but he gets there and she's gone. He sees the creature run by and he sees like an arm hanging out of its mouth. So he chases it. And we all converge at the banks of the river at the protest where they're about to drop the Agent Yellow. All the family is there, all the siblings, they all show up around the same time. And the creature shows up, and before anybody has a chance to disperse, the government just releases Agent Yellow without warning, and seemingly kills the creature, at least for a moment, long enough for Gongdu to run and pull his daughter and the little girl out of the creature's mouth. Pretty much the one time the creature is ever rendered practically in the movie. That whole part looks great.
Yeah.
With him, like, climbing up into its mouth and, like, pulling her out. I wish there was a little bit more of that.
What I find so wild about that sequence is that scene looks so great, but it's immediately followed up by it being lit on fire.
Yeah.
Which is probably the worst looking stuff of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, CG
Would-
fake fire,
would agree.
2006. It's not going to be great. But I think the payoff for me, like the payoff was so good narratively that I didn't mind it so
Yeah,
much.
I mean the showdown with the creature is
good.
great.
Yeah, because the creature's running around, and we have all three siblings, plus the new homeless guy we've introduced, all like acting against it, and I really like this because each one like completes their arc by getting a hit in on the creature. The uncle is like, he's been having all these problems with the drinking, and and so of course, who understands how to throw a bottle better than a drunk, right? So he's got these Molotov cocktails out, and he's hucking them at the creature. The creature is sly and agile, and it's like weaving between the pylons of the pier, or the bridge, and so he keeps missing, but finally it comes around, and he has one left, and the homeless guy, he's come up over the top, and he has a canister of gasoline, and he pours it over the creature. And earlier on in the movie, we get this great shot of the creature like outside before it kills the grandpa, where it's like it's got its mouth open and it's like catching rain and drinking. And when the guy starts pouring the gasoline on it, it does the same thing, which is cool because like, oh, it's a pollution creature, so like it wants the yummy gasoline.
Just
it wants
starts chugging the
tasty
gas,
chemicals.
yeah.
So it starts like kind of drinking it and getting it spilled on it, and the uncle comes up. This is his moment. He's got the Molotov. He's got to hurl it, and he brings his hand up, and it slips out of his hand.
It's all done in glorious slow motion.
Yeah.
Him getting ready to heroically chuck this Molotov at the creature that is distracted and stationary, and he's gonna get it, and just like as soon as he starts to move his hand forward, it just slips out of his hand and shatters on the ground behind him.
We've all been there, but it sucks.
It turns out girls get it done.
Yeah, and so...
Well, yeah, they sure do.
And so, of course, the aunt, she comes up, she's got her bow, and she takes the rag that's still flaming from the Molotov that hit the ground, and she skewers it on the end of her bow. So now she has a fire arrow, and she pulls back, doesn't hesitate, and fires it straight. I love it because she fires it into the creature's mouth the same way that
into its eye.
Into its eye, yeah, that's right, straight into its eye.
Its big, milky, gross eye cluster.
It's great though because like it's up and it's got its mouth open, and it reminded me of like an Olympian lighting the Olympic torch at the beginning of the.
I don't think they've
games.
ever done that by firing an arrow at it.
I will say
No, they touch the torch to it.
Yeah, well, whatever.
no,
She's
they
lighting
don't.
the Olympic torch. It's cool.
Sure.
But
yeah, she's lighting the creature on fire.
yeah, and she skewers at the eye, and it's fucking dope.
I do love that she doesn't hesitate. It feels
Yeah.
like
Finally.
the culmination of like that whole story.
After multiple times, choking when she shouldn't. At the very end, she doesn't hesitate and sets the creature on fire. And as it's running towards the river, it's because it's hard to kill. It's hard to kill.
It's on fire, but there's water right there, and
there's water right there, and it's about to leap in, and Gongdu comes from around one of the pylons, and he has a metal signpost.
I like this because this was also foreshadowed at the very beginning when it attacks at the park. He and the Marine use a parking sign.
Yeah.
It's like a parking sign where it's got the metal rod and the sign on it, and it's just like a plant, it's a
concrete,
like a concrete like planter.
Yeah.
Basically, like holding it upright, so you can pick it up and move it around, but it's heavy. And he has trouble like hitting the creature with it. Like he hits it a couple times, but it's a lot of work getting it up and over. But at this point, like, he already knows what he needs to do. It didn't work last time. So he takes it and he knocks off the top of the sign and he breaks the concrete on it. So he's just got a nice fucking
Just the pole.
Yeah, this time. And so the creature, it's just about to hit the water. He rounds the corner and he fucking skewers it through the heart. Right?
Through the mouth.
Yeah.
Really.
Mouth. Yeah.
Through the brain.
Yeah, into the brain. Just like he was skewered in the brain earlier. They're so similar.
Exactly. They're the same.
They're the same.
They're the same.
They are the same. And finally, killing it.
Finally, the creature dies. I will say one of my little minor like plot issues at this point is like with the Agent Yellow. They make the point about like earlier on the TV how deadly it is,
People
like
are
how
bleeding
it'll
from their ears.
Well, yeah, how it'll kill like any biological organism, like, but they drop it and it's like we see a bunch of people fall over, like one dude who's caught in it like starts vomiting blood and like the creature itself reacts and falls over and is seemingly dead at first, but it's like through all of this, like this whole climax is like in this cloud of like yellow fog, and the most that happens to any of our protagonists is they're just like bleeding a little bit from the ears, but they're otherwise fine. That feels a bit like plot armor to me. It's not like a huge deal, but it is just kind of like, it reminds me of the episode of Always Sunny where they're extras in the M. Night Shyamalan movie, and Dee is just, like, drenched head to toe in, like, fake blood, and then Dennis comes up and he's like, yeah, I got them to go a little bit more subtle with my makeup, and he's just got, like, a tiny trickle of blood coming out of his ear. Like, again, not a huge deal, like, but it does feel a little bit like...
Yeah, it feels a little weird considering, like, how devastating chemical warfare actually is.
Right. Well, it's like they all survive and they're just fine, you know, like we get the epilogue and it's like the daughter sadly died, like she didn't make it,
no
but...
sarin gas.
Right, exactly. But like Gong-do is fine and the little boy, like that's the end, is in the shack. It's like he has adopted the little boy. Like even though he lost his daughter, he still has a chance to be a good dad now. But he keep that thing on him. He keep the shoddy at hand because he's paranoid because their shack is right on the river. But yeah, so it's a little bittersweet ending. The daughter dies, but there's still redemption to be had, and at least the little boy gets a happy ending. That's the movie. That's the host.
That's the host.
Y'all have any other thoughts before we rate?
I think the score is really good.
Oh, yeah.
In particular, there's a really good chase scene with a great percussive track that I thought was really effective. Yeah, overall.
Slap a rating on there, Ben.
Yeah,
why don't you start us?
I think this is a great neo kaiju film. One of the more inventive creature features of the past 25 years. Yeah, I think this is a great movie. You should definitely check it out. It's probably in the middle of the pack in terms of Bong Joon-Ho movies for me, but he's swinging a really high percentage, so definitely worth a watch. It's a 4 out of 5 for me.
Cleve?
Exact same rating. A strong 4 out of 5. I really liked it. Had a lovely time. It's a great creature film. I think the family dynamic is extremely compelling. We got kind of in the weeds describing this movie. This episode is going a little long because of it, but that's because it has such a tight script that like there's no fat on it. All of these things get used and they needed to be commented on. Like we needed to really get into the details of this movie because this movie is really detail oriented, which is surprising because it's a kaiju film. It's a monster
And
movie.
we still didn't get to everything.
We
As
still didn't get
always,
to everything. There's so much to see.
more,
Like,
yeah.
absolutely worth watching on your own. And yeah, I love it for that. And I love a monster movie that can really have a great human element and can tether everything together. I can also see even more so why you guys might not like King of the Monsters as much with the human element there, because it's nowhere near as compelling as a movie like this. Where
True
we just get
facts.
just a small family, people on the ground. I get it. I stand by it, though. I still really like King of the Monsters. But anyway, what do you think?
There's dozens of you.
There's dozens of me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys 100%. I'm in the same boat as you, Ben, and this isn't my favorite Bong Joon-Ho movie or my least favorite, but it is a great film. Really happy to revisit it after a long time. It just checks all the boxes. It's exciting. It's fun. It's, scary at times. It's sweet. Great characters. Great acting. Very good looking film. Effects have aged pretty well, all things considered, for a nearly 20-year-old movie. Strong 4 out of 5. Big recommendation.
Before we wrap, I wanted to note something. I think it's fitting because we're throwing out a lot of 4 out of 5s right now. Recently, it was brought to my attention that 3 years ago, I gave the movie The Pale Door. I gave that movie a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, you did.
Rating.
Totally
and,
deranged.
No, you can't change your rating. You can't change your rating now. We'll have an episode where we're like, oh, we'll revisit.
We can do a revisiting
I think
episodes
that'll be
someday.
fun. But I just wanted to. Well, if I could, I would. And I do agree. I think that is a deranged score to give that movie. I had a lot of fun watching it. I had a good time. I know why I did. But it is that was a stupid score. That was a stupid score to put on that movie. And I'd probably give it like a 2.5, which I think is still like kind and generous. But this is the type of movie that very much so deserves a really strong 4 or higher, I think, and not the Pale Door. That's silly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to just kind of touch on that because it's been on my mind a lot lately. We're just people. We're rating movies. It happens.
We're just normal men.
I'm just
We're just innocent men.
I'm just a big baby, I'm just stumbling around in the dark, just like anyone else, and I don't mind admitting that, every once in a while.
Well,
that's fine.
Thanks for that little bit of revisionist history.
Of course.
But yeah, overall, big recommendation for the host if you haven't seen it, especially if you're a fan of Bong Joon-Ho and haven't seen it, and we give special thanks to Zach for picking this film for us to talk about.
Appreciate it.
Great
pick.
Great pick.
really good pick, and one that we've been overdue for, I think. So, next week, it's my pick, and we're keeping the creature features going. Speaking of another film that we're incredibly overdue for, I can't believe we've been doing this almost 6 years and we haven't talked about Tremors yet. So we're gonna remedy that next week.
Oh, we're keeping the creature train rolling.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yes.
so next week is going to be our Tremors episode. I'm very excited for that.
Same.
Classic episode.
Classic film, one that I'm well overdue for a revisit, but is one of my favorites of all time. So, that'll be next week. Let's do a quick sponsor. And then
very quick. Yep.
Get it,
All right.
get us on out of here.
All right, ding dong, it's the sponsor bell. Ringing a sponsor out for what we're going to sell. That's right,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. This week's sponsor is Abominable Snowman. Take a hit from the Abominable Snowman. He's ripping fat clouds
I think
from his bong nibble.
I think if Bigfoot could smoke weed, he would.
Maybe he does. You don't know.
I don't know. That's true. He's a mysterious figure.
A mysterious.
Don't get me started on Bigfoot. again.
Maybe we haven't been able to find him because of the big fat weed cloud.
Because the clouds, because the
Yeah.
fat clouds.
Yeah, because he's just always hotboxing it, so we haven't been able to find him in the mist.
Much to
That's it.
consider.
Yeah, a lot to think about.
consider.
So, think about it. That's
All right.
the sponsor.
that'll do it for us this week. If you like the show, please leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review wherever you listen and review podcasts. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/podpeoplepod. Shout out to our honorary pod boys, Sam, Zach, and Micah.
Hey,
Once again,
Micah was the one who brought to my attention that I left a 4
Yeah.
on the pale door. So
Thanks for that.
Micah.
Thanks for that reminder, homie. And again, special shout out to Zach for picking this episode.
Hell yeah, dude.
If you want to pick movies for us to talk about, then join the Patreon, become an honorary pod boy.
Please do.
You can also follow us on Twitter while it continues to exist at PodPeoplePod and at letterbox.com/PodPeoplePod, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings, links to those reviews. I'm still on Twitter at SomeSpookySnake.
Are y'all gonna do Blue Sky or are you gonna do Threads?
Not Threads, that's for sure. If I can get an invite to Blue Sky,
I kind of
probably...
hate that Blue Sky is invite only.
For now.
I asked around for invites, didn't get one, and then I got bitter about it. And I was like, you know what? Fuck Blue Sky.
I think it will open up eventually. Remember fucking what was Google's attempt at a Facebook clone?
Google Plus.
Google Plus. Remember that was invite only for a while.
It fucking flopped because it was invite only, though. You gotta have it public for everyone.
Google Plus opened up eventually.
Yeah, but no one was fucking on it
Yeah.
because there's a little invite clicky club.
All the Blue
Fuck
Skies,
that shit.
all
Clicky
Blue
club.
Skies got to do is continue to just be what Twitter was in 2021, and that's all.
You know
that's
what?
all it takes.
I'm gonna stick to Twitter until it dies.
Oh yeah, I'm going down
and
with the shit.
I honestly
I'm
don't
going down with the shit.
know if I'm gonna go to a new service after that.
I'm not going to
I
Threads.
might just be done with social media.
I'm not
after
going
that.
to Threads. That's for damn
So
sure.
instead of
Welcome to my club, dude.
Instead of a social media plug, I'm going to plug a movie that I saw recently. I watched this movie, The Incredible Shrinking Man, from 1957. It's a great, amazing movie.
The Incredibles.
It's about a dude who is out with his fiance on a boat, and he gets hit by a cloud of radiation and pesticide. And
Let me guess. It
relevant.
make him little. It
well,
make him
he
small.
starts shrinking
Isn't it-
slowly
isn't it
over
Vincent
the
Price?
course. No,
Oh, it's not?
no.
That was Vincent Price.
Um,
Is it James Whale?
It's Jack Arnold directed it. Grant Williams is the star. But he is slowly shrinking over the course of months. So he shrinks a couple inches to the point where it's noticeable.
Ah.
And, slowly and slowly he gets smaller and smaller to the point where he lives in a little doll house. I don't think I would ever pick it for the podcast, so I'll shout it out. Give it a watch. It's worth a watch.
Yo, what's up? My Friendly Neighborhood is coming soon. Go wish list if you haven't. It's very scary and fun. And I did a little art for it, so you should go check out My Friendly Neighborhood. It's on the way. And most importantly, don't litter.
Don't dump your toxic chemicals in the river.
Don't do it.
You might create a creature, and while that might be enticing to some, it's going to end up with the U.S. government dumping chemicals into your city.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't dump chemicals into the river to create a creature. Don't do it.
Bye.